AEW is awesome. And we're going to talk all about it today on Wrestling with the Business. Took me all afternoon to think of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling with the Business. I am your host, Jeremy Bodette, and with me, as always, is the man with more high spots than a leopard in a tree, Matthew More Than Man Lambert. Today, we're going to be talking about NXT highlights, giving y'all an update on what's going on there. We're going to be doing our preview for Crown Jewel, the ups and the downs, and of course, we have to talk about AEW Dynamite. Wouldn't be a complete week unless we covered the Wednesday Night Wars. So stay with us. We got a very short period of time and a lot to cover. So we're going to get right into it. Matt, what happened on NXT this week?
NXT this week was a very excellent show. NXT is known for putting on 4 out of 5, if not 5 out of 5 star shows on a regular basis. What really stood out in the very beginning of this episode, though, was a video package that was put together for Tommaso Ciampa. So Ciampa went out with an injury back in April, just before WrestleMania weekend. He was the NXT champion, and he had to relinquish the title due to major injury. He had to have neck surgery, actually. And the way this video was stylized and was put together, it started with him sort of questioning whether, this was his only shot and he missed that opportunity because of an injury. But then he turned it around and really made it about how missing an opportunity or missing his shot is really up to him and how he's not going to miss that shot. He's going to rebuild himself. He's going to be bigger and badder than ever, really cementing himself as a babyface now, whereas previously he's been one of the top heels in the company. And just the way it was stylized and put together, it was a refreshing difference from what you would see on Raw or SmackDown, for instance.
So it wasn't nearly as glossy and polished. It didn't have the same feel, much more kind of a more gritty feel.
It felt more real.
And was the intensity there? I mean, they're pushing him as a face.
Oh, most definitely.
Intensity always seems to be what's lacking. Did you get the impression that he was going to go straight to the top, like he's going to be going for Adam Cole, or did they make it feel like he's going to bide his time and hit the reset button?
No, yeah. His whole reason for being back is to get back the title that he never lost, and that's the whole story they're telling. And he came back a couple of weeks ago, while at the same time, and he immediately went for Adam Cole, who is the current champion. But at the same time, Finn Balor came back and he went for Adam Cole. Johnny Gargano's in the background, also wanting to go for that main title again. But this video, and we'll get on with the rest of the episode, continued to cement that Ciampa is the number one contender, and it really separated him from the pack.
The number one contender ahead of Finn Balor.
Oh, yeah. Just wait, buddy. Just wait.
Okay, that's impressive.
So another thing that I personally love to see in this episode, two of my favorites, Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai, both, again, out for quite some time with injuries, both recently returned. They were together in a tag team. In this episode, which was fantastic to see. They faced off against 2 of the 4 horsewomen, Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir. And while the match itself was a little short and was a little rough around the edges, it was a really fun match to see, and I love these two, Tegan and Dakota both, and it was really fun to watch them tag together.
Tell me about the high spots for the triple threat match for the North American title.
So there was a triple threat match set up for the North American title, who is currently held by Roderick Strong of the Undisputed Era. Last week, there was a number one contender match between Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic, which Roderick Strong interfered in and caused a double DQ, which led to this triple threat match for the North American title. And, man, Keith Lee and Dijakovic, if you don't know who these guys are, they're 6 foot, 300-pound guys who move like cruiserweights. I mean, they're doing flips over the top rope outside the ring. They're doing top rope Spanish flies into the ring. It's insane to watch these guys go. And then to add the third element of Roderick Strong, who's an incredible athlete in his own right, a legitimate cruiserweight who is treated like a heavyweight in NXT, which is fantastic. To say that this match is exciting is a huge understatement. I extremely recommend anyone to go out of their way and see this match. It was incredible. No spoilers, but it was a good ending.
Excellent. It's good to hear. I mean, it really sounds like the quality. I've seen Dijakovic perform before. Obviously, was very impressed. Thought he was, number one contender. It sounds like they're really developing him right. 3, 4, 5 years ago, they just sent him right to the top. He'd be in a match with Adam Cole, but it sounds like they're really doing the legwork that they need to make him a real crowd pleaser. It's got to be going over really well.
Yeah, he's fantastic, but Keith Lee is definitely the standout for sure. And the last major thing that happened on this episode, I don't know if you want to call this a spoiler or not, but Finn Balor turned heel. When Balor returned to NXT, so for those who don't know, Finn Balor was in NXT several years ago. He is one of the most popular wrestlers in the world. He's the longest reigning former NXT champion. And when he went up to Raw, he became the first ever Universal Champion. Had to relinquish the title the next night again because of injury. And since being back on Raw and SmackDown, he really lost a lot of steam. Vince McMahon didn't like him, didn't want to push him. He never got the push that everyone believed he rightly deserved. So when he came back to NXT on the premiere a few weeks ago, it was huge. He blew the roof off the place. And then he did it again on this episode when he finally turned heel after 5 years being a babyface. This was incredible, and the way he did it was fantastic. Turning on Johnny Gargano, the heart and soul of NXT. It was amazing.
Glad to see it went over well. It sounds like they're really responding. Raw and SmackDown are still sleeping giants, but it sounds like NXT is carrying most of the water for the organization. Speaking of WWE and responding and what's going on next, Crown Jewel is coming up.
Yep. We'll start with something good and then move to something not so good.
On Halloween, which is an odd placement in my opinion. Thursday, October 31st. As if having it on a Thursday wasn't bad enough, as if having it on Halloween wasn't bad enough, because they're in Saudi Arabia, it will be airing live at 1 p.m. Matt and I are considering doing a drink and watch live for recording.
You're gonna need to drink to watch the show, I think.
We might need to drink to watch. I think there's going to be some high spots, but I think there's going to be low spots. So let's just run down the card real quick here. And we're going to start with a low spot here. The Universal title. So WWE is going to try to make up for lost time and correct. This really is an opportunity. I mean, we're going to use negative tones in talking about this match, but there is a lot of potential here for WWE to take some wrongs and to make them right. This is going to be Seth Rollins versus The Fiend. As you may or may not remember, at Hell in a Cell, it ended in a very poor and controversial way. I'm not going to trigger anybody by talking about it, but I will say that it ended very badly.
Very badly.
And it is clear that WWE is going to force something to happen, because not only is it a Falls Count Anywhere match, but it cannot be stopped for any reason. So I am very, should we say, bearish or negative on this, because a Hell in a Cell match is supposed to be a match can't be stopped for any reason situation.
I'm sure Mick Foley and The Undertaker wish they had a ref stoppage in 1997.
Yeah, where there were some really funny memes that came out afterwards. Yeah, mostly referencing The Undertaker and Mankind's various incredible matches.
Mankind had a tooth sticking out of his nose, but the ref continued the match. Yeah. Anyways, again, not going to trigger anybody. Too late.
However, that leads to a lot of opportunity for creativity. Seth Rollins is a proven talent, and if anybody can make this fun, it's going to be Bray Wyatt. So let's just hope that they stick him in the match and let them write it for themselves. It would be really interesting to see. Again, I said it before in the preview for Hell in a Cell. They're damned if they do. They're damned if they don't. They can't have them lose, but they can't have them win the title either. So it's going to be very interesting. I predict that The Fiend is going to go over and he's going to take the title. I think that they're going to want the Universal title to go to SmackDown for a little while now to help boost that brand.
Really?
And that's just what I'm thinking. And I think that if they have to choose between two evils, having The Fiend retain his undefeated streak and win the title is the lesser of the two evils.
I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think they're going to come up with some kabuki ending, and Fiend is not going to walk away with the title.
What is that going to look like? Can you even picture that? They just go crazy. Aliens land and take over, and the match stops. Like, can you even imagine something that's even remotely possible that would allow that to happen?
I'll throw this out there. Undertaker is in Saudi Arabia, but he's not scheduled for a match.
That's a WrestleMania level match, which I guess it's time to start the build for.
Well, Saudi Arabia they do treat that like WrestleMania now.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing parades and stuff, right? It's like
Right.
a week-long thing now. But, there is no other WrestleMania besides WrestleMania. That would be a WrestleMania match. I guess, technically speaking, there's some potential there with Undertaker being in town, but...
One more thing about this match. They've been doing dark matches after Raw. This past week, they did a cage match where basically the same thing happened as Hell in a Cell. Seth Rollins hit a bunch of super kicks and curb stomps, and then he walked out of the cage. So, technically, The Fiend is not undefeated.
Undefeated on television, then, we'll say.
Okay.
WWE title, Brock Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez. This one I ranted about in my last video a little bit. I'm not gonna make anyone's ears bleed anymore on that topic. I think this one has potential, but the intensity isn't there, and it'll be a real good proving ground for Cain Velasquez. And it will tell us whether Cain Velasquez is going to be a consistent player in the WWE or whether he's just a gimmicky. If he loses, then obviously it's just a gimmick, and I wouldn't expect him to come back. But if he wins the title, he might be around for a little while. He wasn't in the draft, right? So
that's true.
That should be an indicator right there, I think.
Yeah, I think this match would be more interesting if a title wasn't involved. It doesn't need a title, but even with the title, I personally don't really care all that much about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're both going to be pretty stiff, and unless someone juices or something like that. Which, I mean, it's Saudi Arabia. It's pay-per-view. They're talking about being a little bit edgier.
Yeah, it's possible.
I think there's a possibility. If one of them juices, that could be kind of interesting, especially with all the talk about the scar on Brock Lesnar's face.
Yep.
I thought that could be cool. That'd be a great way to make it interesting, and it could make it a little fun. Speaking of matches we're not looking forward to, probably what I would predict to be the low light of the show would be Braun Strowman versus Tyson Fury. They are struggling what to do with Braun Strowman. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The guy's talented. He's good in the ring. They got plenty of big guys in the WWE. Why they have to go outside the WWE to find another big guy?
Yep.
It's just another gimmick. It's 2019's answer to Andy Kaufman versus Jerry the King Lawler. And I think no matter what happens, no matter how it turns out, unless someone actually physically murders the other person in the ring, no one's going to be surprised or satisfied. And to be honest with you, I don't know how popular Tyson Fury is in Saudi Arabia, so I don't know how well it's going to go over even with that crowd.
Yeah.
If they're smart, they put this as like the second match of the night. They put a decent curtain jerk up there, and then they give it a nice lull.
I expect this actually be pretty low on the card. I think this is going to be one of the third or fourth to the end. I think they're really putting a lot into this, and from what I've been reading,
they're gonna open with the Battle Royale.
Oh yeah,
I don't think there's any conversation about that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So they're gonna open with the Battle Royale. I see. Okay, so Battle Royale, Strowman, Mansoor and Cesaro, Lesnar and Velasquez, and the Universal title as the main event. That's.
What about the big match?
Oh, sorry. So yeah, so I would put what are they calling it? Team Hogan versus Team Flair.
Mm-hmm.
I would put that. I would put that after the AJ Styles versus Battle Royale winner. So you got two matches in between the Battle Royale and the AJ Styles, and then you got Team Hogan.
And don't forget, the biggest tag team turmoil match to determine the World Cup for the best tag team in the world match.
Man, I keep blocking out all these bad matches. The only question I have for you on the tag team turmoil match is who goes over?
Ooh. Let's see. New Day, Raiders, Machinery. I think it's got to be the New Day, right?
I mean, it.
Unless they're planning to push, Viking Raiders or Heavy Machinery even harder. I think it's got to be the New Day.
If this were a match in the United States, I'd say Viking Raiders running away with it. But because it's Saudi Arabia and because it's I don't know, it almost doesn't count. They're treating it as if it's
both of the tag champions.
It's an exhibition match. Nothing really matters, and you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, what happened with the last World Cup match? Shane McMahon won even though he wasn't in the tournament.
It's kind of stuff I'm talking about.
We're going to see Rock and Roll Express come back and they're going to win it just out of nowhere.
Maybe they get Titus back in that ring. Pull him off Fox News. Get him up there. Pull him off the Greg Gutfeld show and put him up there. The only comments I have on the 20-man Battle Royale is that I think that whoever wins it is going to beat AJ Styles and strip him of the title. I don't know who it's going to be. And frankly, I don't really care too much who it is.
Yeah. No one's been announced for it yet, so it's kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah, I just broad strokes here. Whoever wins that, I think, goes against AJ Styles. If my man Shorty's in it, I'd love to see him go over. That's the guy that my heart's going to be pulling for. But whoever wins the Battle Royale, I think is going to beat AJ Styles and become the USA Championship. They have to give some kind of weight to this. They have to make it seem like the real world. And with this whole Team Hogan, Team Flair thing, that's all about, basically fantasy booking almost, or trying to simulate a sort of fantasy booking.
Yeah.
All the good guys versus all the bad guys. Let's talk about that briefly. Do we care?
Not really.
Yeah, the initial buildup was nice. I guess the only one that I'm kind of interested in is the Rusev versus Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, that'll be the first time they get their hands on each other since the whole Lashley is screwing Rusev's wife thing.
They're doing a decent job building the intensity. I don't know why they have to do the gimmicky stuff. Like, why can't Rusev just jump Bobby Lashley in the parking lot? Why does it have to be at a restaurant? I don't... Why does it have to be in bed? Like, that's the stuff that I think really separates AEW from WWE. WWE is still caught in that gimmicky, glossy soap opera type stuff that is just, it's not the level of intensity that the crowd wants.
Right.
That's the only thing that I'm vaguely interested. The rest of them, I really couldn't care less.
There's still been no reason given why this story exists at all. It's completely pointless.
No, and they need to get Ric Flair off the television.
Oh
that poor man.
That was terrible on Raw this week.
They have to get him off the television. It's just
so bad.
He
didn't know where they were. He was asking the interviewer. For some reason, they interviewed him during the match, which they've never done before. And then he had no idea where they were going to be. He was stumbling all around. Yeah, he needs to be put out to pasture.
I mean, they need to take care of him, but it's kind of sad, actually. It's really sad. Like, I don't know. You wouldn't interview an 85-year-old football player because he used to coach the team that's on the field, you know what I mean? And you wonder, like, I mean, obviously he took a lot of hits throughout his incredible career. I mean, you just don't know, if there's some kind of issue going on there. I hope not, but he's been having trouble for a little while now, and he has such a hot and cold relationship with the WWE that just...
As far as I know, the lawsuit is still going about using the man nickname.
Yeah, like, it just... I don't know. Yeah. I suspect that, in some years, some information will come out that'll break, and I'm sure there'll be some controversy. Wrestling's due for a controversy. It's been, a little while since, anything real noteworthy for one of the Behind the Titanatron specials on YouTube. It's been a few years, so I think that'll be the next one. Don't sleep on Mansoor and Cesaro, though. I think that'll be a good match.
It will be a good match, yeah, I agree. I mean, Again, the only reason it's happening is because Mansoor's from Saudi Arabia, but he is a talented wrestler, and Cesaro, I mean, you can't say enough good things about Cesaro. So yeah, that should be a good one.
They need to do something with him. They need to They need to let him breathe. He's a talent that's...
We've been saying that for years.
It's really funny because since he's come back, Rusev is almost getting suffocated with the amount of attention that they're giving him. He's a plant that only needs a moderate sunlight, and he will grow and he will become beautiful. And poor Cesaro is being choked, and he just has absolutely nothing. There's such an unbalanced tone to the way that they're doing their bookings. It's just, and Cesaro's working. I mean, how many times has he flown back and forth from Europe on a day's notice? And he's put in good matches just so he can get time in the ring, putting his hours in. I mean,
I was really
for me as a fan, he's got a great reputation. I've never worked with him, but I would hope to work with a guy like that.
Yeah, I was really hoping he was going to be the ones who went back to NXT. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a little too big for that pond, in my opinion.
Yeah, could say the same thing about Balor.
No, I think Cesaro's a little too seasoned. That's just my opinion. He's a little too seasoned. He's seen a little bit too much action. He's won too many titles. He's held it for too long. Balor's still he can still kind of pull off the young guy, the young inexperienced thing. All right, so let's try and let's hit the upswing here. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite. What happened on AEW Dynamite this week, Matt?
Let's just do a quick recap first from one of our videos a couple weeks ago, where we talked about the Wednesday Night Wars. We talk a lot on here about AEW, NXT, and some people still might not get why this is so important for us wrestling fans. So WWE has been the preeminent wrestling company, definitely in the country, if not the world, for many, many years. The last legitimate competition they had was back in the late 90s, early 2000s with WCW. And there have been some other companies through the years since WCW went out of business that have tried to get to that upper echelon and provide some competition for WWE, and they've all failed. When AEW came along, they had the financial backing, they had the popularity with their talent and with the people running the business, that they have become a legitimate contender for number 2 company in the country. So AEW premiered on TNT at the beginning of October, on the same night that NXT went a full 2 hours on USA Network. And ever since then, there has been a constant back and forth between the two companies as far as ratings, as far as product quality. And like I said about NXT earlier, AEW has been consistently very good to excellent every single week. This week's show was no exception. So we got, starting right out, we got a tag match between the Private Party and the Lucha Brothers. Before AEW came along, how familiar were you with the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon and Phoenix?
Yeah, I had seen a couple of matches. I'd seen a couple of a couple times I've seen them work on television and on the internet, but I wasn't super familiar.
And what do you think of them now?
I mean, they're exceptional. I have nothing bad to say. There are a couple like constructive criticism things that I could say about what AEW is doing. I don't like the fact that Jericho is the champion.
Really?
And that's really the only bad thing that I have to say. I think sometimes JR misses on his commentary, but I mean, it's the 2 hours of wrestling for the week that I really look forward to. So I think these guys are great, and it's my standards, now that it's been 4 weeks, my standards are really starting to rise, because even people that I knew basically nothing about, Private Party as an example, they're raising the bar. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter if I know them or not. If they're on AEW, expect something exceptional.
Yep, I agree. So the episode started with this match between Private Party and Lucha Brothers, a semifinal match for the Tag Team Championship Tournament. Private Party is a newer team. They're very green, but very athletic, very exciting to watch. And there were a couple points in this match where I actually thought, is Private Party going to win this? I mean, that's one thing AEW's been very good about, is not all the matches are predictable. They can see
you
it
can
going.
Thank the commentators for that.
Yeah, absolutely. The commentators
their
have
work
a big part
selling
in
the
that.
moves and everything made Private Party look a lot bigger than they were.
Yes, absolutely. And they do that for all the matches for the most part. So this was an excellent match. Right after this, we had the other semifinal match between SCU and the Dark Order. Now, the Dark Order we've seen on AEW's pay-per-views earlier this year, and they really haven't clicked with the audience. They've kind of come off as a failed experiment. This is the first time they've been on TV since AEW premiered on TNT. But they started the match with a video sort of reintroducing Dark Order, which was a nice touch. But again, the crowd didn't really get into them. It was a decent match. It was a good match. Mainly because SCU is very good. I mean, Dark Order, they're good athletes. They are a good team. But without that crowd support, it just kind of fell a little flat.
Yeah, we kept being told, be patient. Once it goes to television, there'll be more story behind it, and you'll have a little bit more background. And it seems like AEW is focusing on story sort of even less than we expected that they would. So, in my opinion, what's happening? Yeah, in my opinion, what's happening is that the less gimmicky characters are taking all the sunlight, and you've got Mox and Pac and Cody and Britt Baker, and I mean anybody that's just kind of like, hey, this is me, this is who I am. Those are the ones that seem to be getting a lot of love over it. So the Young Bucks seem to be going, obviously they're working really hard, but they're just themselves. There's nothing gimmicky about them, and you got really talented wrestlers. In my opinion, I really like the Jurassic Express, but they're gimmicky, and so they're just not going over well. People that watch AEW are not interested in gimmicks. They're gimmick overload.
I'll disagree with Jurassic Express. I think they are hugely over with the crowd. Luchasaurus is one of the most popular wrestlers they have.
Well, by the way, the gimmick that they're running is a little boy and his dinosaur, basically, right?
It's true.
So that's kind of neat. And it's not gimmicky in the same way that... Like, it's gimmicky like Lucha Brothers is gimmicky. But Dark Order is in an entirely different scenario. Like, there's no... It's I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe. But, like, the minions...
Yeah.
That... they sit on and stuff. You know what I mean? It doesn't... It's a bridge too far, I think. It's gimmicky in the sense of being unique or having a style is one thing. Gimmicky in the sense of being like a cartoon character is just something that AEW fans just aren't into.
Yep, I'd agree with that. But one thing that happened during this match, which I wasn't crazy about at first, about halfway through the match, we see Chris Jericho walking through the crowd with Santana, Ortiz, and Sammy Guevara.
The Inner Circle.
The Inner Circle. And they're holding up the tickets that they bought, and they go up to a luxury box up in the top of the stadium, and they're eating popcorn and having a bit of the bubbly. A bit of bubbly. And this happened halfway through the match, and yeah, the crowd wasn't really into the match, but at the same time, I've never been crazy about things that take away from what's happening in the ring. Whether it's, somebody in the crowd, or a beach ball getting thrown around, or people start doing the wave. I can't stand that crap. And at first, that's how I felt about this, too. But then, once I saw later on what it eventually played into, then I felt better about it. But once Jericho and those guys went up to the box, then the... what's the word I'm looking for? The atmosphere in the match sort of took a turn, and all of a sudden, it like a switch was flipped, and the guys in the ring started going all out. I mean, the one member of the Dark Order there doing a flipping dive over the corner, over the ring post, out to the floor onto Kaz. Completely unexpected. incredible and nearly led to the end of the match. And that by that point, the crowd was into the match and into the finish. So I think they really saved that match. As what that means for Dark Order going forward, I can't say. But so the finals are set for the tournament next week. Lucha Brothers versus SCU. Who do you think is going to be the first champs?
SCU.
SCU, really?
I think they're pushing the whole Christopher Daniels is out thing pretty hard, and I think the Lucha Brothers are very, very, very solid. But I think that with SCU you could do anything with them right now, heel or face.
Mm-hmm.
Very flexible. Lucha Brothers, you got to go face. Those guys can't go heel. They're masked wrestlers in America. It's going to be really tough for them to go face. I think the safe bet is SCU.
All right. I'm going Lucha Brothers, so we'll have something to talk about next week. So next was the Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela match. You weren't crazy about this match.
Listen, I thought it was a good match. Anytime Kenny Omega gets in the ring. Actually, you know what I loved most about it? Moxley was nowhere to be found.
Yes. I thought for sure he was going to come out. I was glad he didn't.
Yeah, you've been brainwashed. 20 years of unbridled WWE tarnish are slowly getting washed away by the cleansing waters of AEW Dynamite. You're slowly starting to see what it's like to expose yourself to something that's more wrestling and less soap opera. The Omega Janela put on an exceptional show. Again, I thought there were a couple of spots that were a little too, again, it's a safety thing, and I'd rather he do it than not do it. But, I think you're, Kenny, you're trying to blow us away a little bit too much. And the other wrestlers are trying to keep up with you. And I love the arms race, but I'd like to see just a little more art and a little bit less athleticism.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I gotta say, though, the more I see Kenny, the more he is quickly becoming my favorite wrestler. He is incredible. I mean, just his style, you don't see anything like it anywhere else. The speed he has in there, his V-trigger knees, those are incredible. I thought this was an excellent match. And this was a callback to a week or two ago. They had an unsanctioned match together, which, just really quick, they did some insane stuff in that
jammed
match.
A lot of stuff into a very brief period of time.
Oh my god. We've seen the one spot that stuck out to me was we've seen plenty of times where wrestlers set up 4 chairs and have the seats facing each other and then suplex someone on them. In that match, Kenny set up the chairs with the back facing each other, and then he suplexed Janela onto the backs of the chairs. How can you fake that? You don't. There's some things that you just can't fake, man. I mean, Mankind going through the ring and landing, him jumping from the top of the cage onto the table at Hell in a Cell. I mean, some things you just say a Hail Mary and take a dive, But they just learn how to fall properly.
Yeah, there's no great way to fall on a chair. There's no great way to learn how to fall on a chair. But I thought it was a great match, and I think there's a lot of potential there. And I left both the Omega. Now, obviously, everyone's super excited about the Omega and the Moxley match. It's amazing how a rivalry like that can suck the air out of what should be, right, the bigger match, which is Cody for the championship, right? I mean, that should be sucking all the air out of the room. But Moxley and Omega have such a gravity to them that you can watch them wrestle other people and leave feeling satisfied. And each of them can either go over or not go over in their own way and have it still support the greater storyline. There's a way to lose and yet still look good. and AEW is not afraid to take advantage of that. So they're really working that angle to their advantage. Win or lose, everybody leaves feeling better. The whole handshake thing before and after, they're pushing the athletic side of it instead of the soap opera side of it, which I can respect. It's getting to be a little much, but I think overall it's a really great choice.
Yeah, one thing you just said just triggered me about still looking good even though losing. That was one thing I wanted to mention about this Omega Janela match. Joey Janela is known for those hardcore death match type matches. And this one was a straight up wrestling match, really showcased that Joey Janela is a very good mat wrestler. And, chain wrestling, whatnot. And he looked excellent after this match, even though he lost. And I think that was a good touch to this. So then after that, we moved to a segment where the guys in the luxury box got involved. Cody came out to cut a promo in the ring. Tony Schiavone's in the ring waiting to do an interview with him. And I just gotta say, when Cody came out and when Kenny Omega came out, those were the loudest pops of the night, without a doubt. The crowd loved those guys. But Cody gets in the ring, starts to do an interview, and then you hear these little air horns going off from the crowd. After a few seconds, the camera pans up and you see the inner circle up there blowing their air horns, interrupting the interview. And Cody takes the mic from Tony and spills the line that this isn't like the wrestling company that we came from, Jericho. This is not an invisible wall. I can come through these ropes, walk up those stairs, and fight you. What'd you think of that?
When he said it, I was kind of like, okay, he said it, like, it was good, it got a good response, again, realism, breaking the fourth wall, sort of the expansion of kayfabe outside of, the squared circle. I thought it was really great. And, he sort of, Jericho kind of calls him out or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he sort of half steps over the barricade, and and he stops, right? Because he's trying to build tension, and he stops. And at that moment, I was like, man, I really want him to go up there, but I don't know if he's going to. And it wasn't until he stepped back towards the ring that I was like, he's totally going up there. And then, the whole, I wish that they didn't go, oh, it's, 4-on-1, oh, it's 4-on-2, it's 4-on-3. I wish it was like, hey, man, it's 4 versus 1, and then all of them roll out. I think that would have been a little bit better. But again, there's art to it, and you're trying to build the tension. But, once you get to 2, you kind of know that 3 and 4 are coming.
But
so let's cut to the action.
You got
my favorite moment of the night, and there were some great moments tonight. My favorite moment of the night is when he wrapped his hand up and he put it through. I was like, this is, and then he drags him out of the room, out onto the concourse, and I just kept thinking about the food fight that should have been.
Well, before all that, we got his brother Dustin came out, full face paint and all. We got his best friend MJF come out. And then we got the returning, it's me, it's DDP, who looked freaking phenomenal, dude. That yoga is doing freaking wonders.
Yeah, he looked good.
He's got to be pushing 70, man. He was 35 when he started wrestling in WCW. That was almost 30 years ago now.
Yeah, he's probably in his mid-60s. Yeah, he's probably in his mid-60s.
He looks like he could go for another match, at least.
Yeah, hard to believe he's about as old as Hogan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to believe they're both... Well, he's being smart about it, too, right?
Yep.
But yeah, they came out, they lit him up, they went out on the concourse. And it was shorter than I wanted it to be. but it was, again, it did exactly what we wanted, right? Did anybody talk about the title? Nope. Because the title is secondary. Title doesn't matter. I want to beat you down because I hate you, right? I want to feed you to the lions because I hate you, not because I want to see them fed. And that's, if you were on fire, I wouldn't stomp on you to put you out, not because I hate you, because I don't want my shoes to get dirty, and that's where that good intensity comes from.
Yep. This is a great segment. And the whole time, like you said, wrapping MJF's scarf around his hand to smash through the window, brawling on the concourse. That's immediately what I thought, what you said earlier about the food fight you wanted to happen between Becky and Sasha all those months ago.
Would have been so much better.
Like, where's the mustard? He did smash Jericho's face on the Dippin' Dots counter, so we were close.
I'm gonna get my food fight, damn it.
Apparently, Dippin' Dots tweeted out after that and said they're gonna make an AEW flavor.
Oh, okay. I don't know where I get me some Dippin' Dots. I'm gonna find some Dippin' Dots and get me some Dippin' Dots if they do that. Dippin' Dots. Your marketing scheme worked on me.
All right, so after that, we got a tag match between the Young Bucks and the Best Friends. And out with Best Friends came the fantastic Orange Cassidy, who finally got some action in the ring, giving his lackluster, lazy super kicks to the Young Bucks, and then getting the snot kicked out of him.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yep. Young Bucks went over on that match and then accepted Santana and Ortiz challenge, and they'll be facing them at Full Gear, the next pay-per-view in, what was that, November 9th?
8th? 9th? 8th?
And then we got the hometown girl, Britt Baker. So they were in Pittsburgh, Britt Baker's hometown. So we've seen Britt Baker quite a bit. We talk about her a lot. This is the first time we've actually seen her in a prominent position. How do you think she did?
I mean, I think she's great. They're lining her up as a number one contender. She's talented. It's not her, what do I want to say? Her gimmick isn't character based. Mm-hmm. It's good quality wrestling. I think that I was a little disappointed that we didn't see more. Like, I even texted you afterwards and was like, did I leave the room to go to the bathroom and miss our Riho match or something? Like, first of all, I thought it was great that Riho wasn't on. I like Riho, but it's important that we don't see every champion every week, right, all the time.
Yep.
It's good for the rest. It's good for the wrestler, and it's good for us as well, right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. You're going to get twice the pop if you wait twice as long to see that person again. So I think that's a good idea, but I just remember thinking, did I miss something? Did I miss a tag team match? Did I miss something? Because as far as I know, the Britt Baker match was the only match of the night. I thought it was an okay match. It was a good match. I like Britt Baker. Her wrestling in her hometown makes sense to me. She got a decent pop from the crowd. There was a decent video package. It seems like they're pushing her. I think she's going to be a top card contender for the next little while. She's probably my favorite. Riho's in my top 3, but I think she's probably my favorite.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that. That's cool.
No, I mean, again, we haven't been exposed consistently enough to enough of the female wrestlers, I think, as of yet. But so far, she's my favorite.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think AEW still has some work to do. Their women's division is still pretty small and lackluster. They need to...
I'll tell you, if they wanted to make a real stand against the WWE, this is what they do. If I was Tony Khan's advisor, I would say, on Friday, November 1st, you're going to go to Oneida, New York, the site of probably the what was the center of the women's liberation movement in 1919 that earned women's suffrage the right to vote, and I would have an all-women's match at the Oneida Civic Center. I would pack the house, and it would be all women all night, and it would be the best wrestling that's ever happened, ever. And that's the night before, right? Everyone would tune into Saudi Arabia, and they'd see no women wrestle at all. That's exactly what I would do if I was Tony Khan's advisor.
Yeah.
I wanted to take advantage of that. Precisely what I do.
I don't want to backpedal onto Saudi Arabia again, but the night after on SmackDown, they're flying all the men back to be on SmackDown. It's not going to be an all-women SmackDown the day after.
There's going to be a lot of talking.
There was no women on Raw this week. There wasn't a women's match. There wasn't a women's segment.
Yeah. Yep, I noticed that. Yep, that was very odd. Yeah, it looked like looked like Lana carried the.
Yeah, that was it.
carried the women's
and
division.
Zelina Vega came out with Andrade. That was it.
Zelina Vega, yeah. The two of them put the women's division on their backs and carried them for 3 hours.
All right, got on a tangent. Let's go back. One other thing I wanted to mention about Britt Baker and the women's division. It was just announced earlier today. I don't know how familiar you are with the wrestlers at Impact Wrestling, but Tessa Blanchard is no longer with Impact Wrestling. That would be a huge, huge get for AEW if she were to sign with them.
I'm sure they'll get her.
I hope so. She's an incredible women's wrestler. She's been doing mostly intergender wrestling all this year in Impact. There was a lot of speculation that she was going to be Impact champion. Not women's champion, just the champion. But they didn't pull the trigger at Bound for Glory, so... Which we'll talk about another time, because that was just this past weekend also. Oh, did you see Adam Cole on AEW this week?
No.
Before Britt Baker's match, they were showing pictures and videos of her going to all the sporting events in Pittsburgh, and in one of them she's standing with Adam Cole, who is her real-life boyfriend. So Adam Cole's the first guy since Rick Rude to be on 2 different wrestling shows on the same night.
I didn't catch that. I gotta go back and look at that.
I missed it too. I was looking at her. I completely did not see him standing next to her. That's
funny. Just standing there being Adam Cole?
Yeah, they were just at a hockey game and they were just posing for a picture.
Oh, the shot when she was at the Penguins game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at her.
Yep.
That's funny. Wow. I don't think anything like that happened during the Monday Night Wars.
Oh, yeah, Rick Rude.
A couple like that? No, but a couple.
Oh, no, probably not.
Yeah, I don't think any of the Nitro girls were dating or married to anybody in WWE.
No.
Huh. That's interesting. There's a lot of stuff like that, right? Moxley and...
Yep,
there's a lot of that, with AEW basically being an offshoot of WWE, it's kind of unlike WCW, which was a little bit more of an organic... what do I want to say? WCW had sort of more of an organic origin versus AEW, which is sort of a bunch of should we call them WWE misfit toys that sort of went off and set up their own shop. I guess you should expect stuff like that to happen. It'll be interesting to see over the next couple of years if AEW continues its successful Wednesday night run, how things shake out, because you can already kind of see, like, with all the moves happening on the WWE side, things are getting unnoticed, but it seems like some people are getting moved into some less prominent positions. So it'll be interesting to see if Adam Cole ends up losing his title and,
Bite your tongue.
Listen, they're lining it up. I mean, if Adam Cole retains his title after, everything that's going on right now, I mean, it certainly is going to make everyone else look mighty weak.
All right, so the last match of the night, the main event, Jon Moxley versus Pac. I've mentioned this to you before. When Dean Ambrose was in WWE, I could not have cared less. But Jon Moxley, I cannot wait to see. I was really looking forward to this match.
He's great. Pac's great. They're both getting a lot of air without talking much. Although Moxley can really work a mic.
Yep.
And it's just good work. I mean, I don't know why it was the main event, but frankly, I don't care. It was good to see that Jericho didn't wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another great choice that they made, and it was another great match. And Pac's a beast, and it's only a matter of time before he wins the championship.
What'd you think about the finish? Came to a time limit draw.
AEW has to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you announce a time limit draw every match, if you announce a time limit on every match, and that time limit is never hit, it becomes inconsequential. You have to have these little reminders. Hey, it's a real thing. Just like if you consistently give people title shots with bad records, it's going to become meaningless. So it's all plays into the kayfabe. So I think that they've used it like twice?
Twice, yep. The only other time was Cody versus Darby Allin.
Yep. So, they've used it twice so far. I think that's tasteful. And as long as they don't start using it as an excuse to, split the baby, as long as it doesn't become an excuse to not give someone the title that the crowd wants to get the title, or not have a title change hands during a non-pay-per-view event or whatever.
That's how the Falls Count Anywhere match is going to end at Saudi Arabia. It's going to be a time limit draw.
I mean, we'll see. Again, it's hard to make that argument when they say, the match cannot be stopped for any reason. Can I just ask really quickly? So if someone gets pinned for a 3 count,
match doesn't end.
The match doesn't end. This just continues. The Fiend's child and Seth Rollins' baby will be fighting when the two of them die. And this will just continue on into perpetuity.
Yep. That's what I get from that, yeah.
That's what it'll be.
So
I thought it was tasteful. I think that they need to do it. And I think as long as they do it every once in a while, it's good.
Yeah, I agree. I was fine with the ending.
If they ever cared about actually having someone get heat, they could have them just spend the last 2 or 3 minutes running out the clock. They could spend the first 2 or 3 minutes running out the clock as best they could. Then eventually they get caught, dragged into the ring, match ensues. Then they could easily burn another 2 or 3 minutes, avoiding things, diving out of the ring, running around, diving back into the ring, running around, That'd be a great way to build heat.
That's true. I could see Jericho doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I gave this episode a 5 out of 5. I thought this was an excellent episode.
Yeah, I mean, it was very good. I would have liked to seen one other women's match, but very satisfied, very easy to enjoy. Best 2 hours of my week.
So I think it's safe to say, I mean, growing up, I think you and I were both huge WCW fans, well over WWF. I know myself, when TNA came around, especially early on when they were pushing that X division, I definitely gravitated more towards that over WWE.
Yep.
And I got to say it, I much rather prefer AEW over WWE right now.
What would you do if there was no Raw and SmackDown brand for WWE? If you woke up tomorrow and SmackDown and Raw were no more and all the wrestlers were gone, just disappeared from the planet, and it was just purely a Wednesday Night War, would you still be AEW for life? Or do you think NXT is getting weighed down by its cohorts?
Ooh. I still love NXT, and I will continue to follow NXT as long as they are consistent, but I think I am edging more towards AEW at this point.
Yeah, I'd love to hear an argument from someone that doesn't. I should do an internet search and find someone that really doesn't like AEW, because I just can't see it. I just can't see it.
I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure there's plenty of people saying it's all spots, no story, or something else along those lines. It's all acrobatics.
Yeah, I would love to hear that argument.
Go listen to the Jim Cornette podcast.
Oh, yeah, I totally didn't think about him. I am going to go check out the Jim Cornette show and see what he has to say. Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, that should do it for this week then.
Excellent. Gang, thanks for listening. If you made it this far, God bless you. Remember to click like, please share, subscribe, hit that notifications bell, because God knows subscriptions don't mean anything anymore on YouTube. Take care of yourselves, your wives, your lives, your family. Remember to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Don't follow us home. We don't like that. We don't like stalkers. No, thank you. And until next time, we'll be seeing you.
I want to strongly recommend anyone to go check out AEW. If you're a wrestling fan, if you're not a wrestling fan, this is definitely a completely different product than has been out for the past many years. Let us know what you think. And in the meantime, always keep kayfabe, follow the money, and we'll keep wrestling with business.